All right. Welcome, everybody. We're excited to get going here. We're going to be talking about scaling CX success. And I've got a dear friend, Mary Drummond's joining me. Mary and I do go back, though. How long is it, Mary? It's got to be 5 years. 6, 7, 4, 4,
Ah,
5.
I think that our main interaction was in the height of COVID. I think that COVID is what really like
Okay.
locked us down there.
That's true. So maybe we're only like 3. Okay. It's not 7. It's more like 3. Anyways, Mary and I have gone back and forth, and I really, she was doing some amazing stuff. I'll let her talk about that at a company called Worthix. But where I actually came across her was I'm just a huge fan of her podcast, which I wanted to talk about in a second as well. And I was trying to get into some podcasting myself, and I came across her and I started following. You try to find experts and see what they're doing, and her style, her confidence, her command, I thought was so cool. And so I'd reached out to her way back when, and since then we've kind of been back and forth on all the different journeys during COVID and the different lives and stuff. So, anyways, thank you so much for joining, Mary. And how the heck are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Since you have been on my podcast before,
Yes.
I feel like the tables have now turned. So I'm excited to have you interviewing me
Yeah,
and
that's
having
right.
a
The last.
conversation about customer experience. It's the topic that both of
Yes.
you and I are so passionate about, and I hopefully it will bring value to the people who are watching this.
100%, 100%. So before we dive in, I alluded to it a little bit, but maybe touch just on your background and some of the fun things you've done in the world of CX.
So I'm a marketer who's an accidental customer experience
I know that
aficionado,
feeling.
let's call me. Yeah. So I kind of stumbled upon it in my quest to create content for the MarTech company that I was with, Worthix. And this was like 7 years ago. And this led me into a path of discovering thought leaders, books,
Yeah,
publications. And this is at a time when CX was still at that crescendo. It still hadn't reached, let's say, full traction in the market. And I began researching it. And one thing that I found really, really early on is that the CX community is so vibrant and, most importantly, so empathetic. It is probably the most empathetic market I have ever had the pleasure of being in. Everybody who's in it wants to help genuinely. And I think that that's the calling part of customer experience, having that built-in empathy that we have for
yeah,
others. And the value that that brings is that we do become representatives of the customer inside of our organizations. We champion for them, we speak for them, we design for them, right?
yeah.
So the my accidental CX background has to do with the amazing people, including yourself, that I had the pleasure and the honor of speaking to in my interviews, in my publications, and just the stuff that I learned. I think that eventually I consumed so much of it that I started regurgitating it myself. Uh, so
I love it.
yeah, I'm not coming at this as an expert. I'm coming at this perhaps as the consolidation of the voice of the
Yeah.
customer experience market. How about that?
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And the Voices of CX podcast was awesome and
Yeah.
instrumental to a lot of stuff we did. So congratulations. Also won some great awards, I think, and being recognized as, an influential person in the CX space. So appreciate you taking the time today. Would love to kind of dive into the topic, maybe just start big picture. I mean, obviously the world continues to change. There's, new technologies all the time. This word AI is something that, we're all trying to figure out what's going on with it. Customers are more demand. How would you paint the picture of just what the heck's going on in CX?
Well, I mean, I don't want to keep going back to COVID, but going back to COVID, I think what happened is that there was a massive shift in the market after that. Because
Yeah,
if we consider that so much of what we do has to do with understanding customers, understanding decisions, understanding the market, understanding the ecosystem, and we had to wipe a
yeah,
clean slate during that time where the world just kind of turned upside down, right? And are things getting back to normal? Yes, but differently, right? Some very
yeah,
fundamental things about how customers interact with brands changed. So there are so many things that were completely valid 5 years ago that in a regular scenario would have perhaps progressed into a different state. Instead of progressing, it was a full 180. And
Yeah.
we're getting behavior that's not an evolution of past behavior, it's completely new behavior.
Yeah.
So I think the most important takeaway that we should all have from everything that happens is that black swan events will happen. They won't happen all the time, but when they do
Yeah.
happen, it provokes a change in behavior that then forces us to understand how fragile the entire ecosystem is. And
Yeah.
it makes us reflect on how urgent it is to constantly keep up with how the expectations and the needs and the pains of customers are continually shifting, and that we need to stay on top of it. And if we don't, we will
Really,
very, very quickly get overrun by somebody who will. So I
who
think that
is, yeah.
that's the state of the
I like
market
that.
right now.
No, no, I think sometimes it is. It's just an awareness that you don't maybe know everything and that the world is changing and you better get on the horse or you're going to get left
Yeah.
behind. So it's
Yep.
probably not the horse, it's maybe the train. I don't know. That just came out.
The
But
Tesla.
I like
It's get on the Tesla.
yeah, like sometimes you say stuff and then you're like, brain, that was not what was supposed to be said. Anyways, I think that's the right framing though. Get on or get off. It's coming, so you better get going. So,
Yeah.
as you've seen all these changes, you obviously are running a business yourself. You, in the past, have been instrumental, I think, in coaching and framing it up for others. How do you see organizations being successful? Like, what are some of those core components or core keys that you would pass along to kind of help organizations make this
Yeah.
adjustment, this change?
This is, I think that you're asking me the final question of a whole bunch of other questions. So I'm going to skip to the end, and then hopefully throughout this conversation, we can answer the other parts in between. So starting at the end here, I think that the key to success and the organizations who have been very, very
Yeah,
successful in the past couple of years are those who have been able to create a combination of signal tracking and insights tracking. So
interesting.
not only listening to the customer, but also tracking the data. Or if you
Yeah,
prefer to switch it around because your priorities are different, not only studying the data, but also listening to customers. So a
yeah,
combination of those two factors. And truly the coolest part is that is what AI is helping us do right now, right?
yeah,
Find the best way to connect feedback with data at scale, right?
yeah,
So I'm sure that there are ways for AI to help smaller operations or operations with less customers. But when we're talking about the true success of artificial intelligence for aiding customer experience, we're talking about organizations that have hundreds of thousands, millions of customers. They're the ones that truly need help. They need a little something extra to be able to track every single touch point of a customer along their journey. And they're the ones that are benefiting the most, in fact, from the advancements of artificial intelligence. Now,
yeah.
the interesting part, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in your experience, I mean, there's so many, this word AI is strong. I mean, I think people have been looking for efficiencies and automation
Hmm.
for a long time. And I love your framing in the sense that it's really most advantageous when there's big quantities or there's, it's not when you're dealing with a high net worth client. AI probably isn't maybe as valuable in
Probably
those
not.
cases. Is there some places where you found technology, data, AI, automation? I'm using broad categories to be most beneficial to kind of
Hmm.
CX professionals in the past?
Yeah. Yeah. So there are a couple of them. One of them is AI intelligence that I think is really important, right? So not only is that the analytics that you can actually process with artificial intelligence, but it's in predictive analytics as well, right? Being able to amass customer data and predict new behavior, right? So, like that part, I think is extremely valuable when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Um, Personalization. I
Yeah.
think personalization is something that some people hate, other people love. In most cases, people love at least some degree of personalization, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to feel like you're hitting me with a one size fits all, right?
Right.
I think that even if you speak to younger generations, you will find that they are deeply annoyed if they get served an ad that isn't intended for their demographic. You know, I have a
But
running joke
they
with
get
my
annoyed about
friends.
everything. Don't they? They get
But
a really
okay,
rough.
okay, but in their defense, I have a group chat with my girlfriends, and the one a running joke that we have is when we get served an ad for menopause or something of the sort, something that's targeted to an older generation, and we're like, why does the AI think I need this? And I
No
mean, I
comment.
know
No, but
that's
the
a
point is right.
TMI example. It's a
No, but I
TMI
mean, look,
example, but it's a
no,
valid one, okay? I
yeah,
want
you want the
personalization. I want you to
yeah.
know that I'm not in menopause yet. Come on. Uh,
There you go. The point is the point. I mean, technology has got to enable goodness. If it offends people, then, you're obviously not doing it right. So you're right. You don't have to be
yeah.
Gen Z or X or whatever it
No.
is for that. That's everybody.
Exactly. So, personalization is another great field, but I also think that customer service in general, customer support has benefited greatly
Yeah.
generative AI in the past couple of years, from chatbots to all of that. What's it called? Intelligent. Come on, Gabe, help me. You know these things. Intelligent. Where they put you in contact with the right person,
Routing,
really quickly.
like routing.
Intelligent routing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
in
Yeah.
other words, getting you to the right person as quickly as possible so you're not bouncing around when you call into a customer
Yes.
support line. That's amazing. But
Mhm.
but then there's really cool stuff as well, like conversational AIs or NLPs that are used as a way to actually survey customers without surveying them. So
Yeah.
this is something that you have technology companies out there that are doing it in a survey style, where they have a survey that's powered by AI, and then you have other companies that are simply taking data from either from call centers or customer service or from chatbots, and amassing or mining that data to be able to gather the voice of customer without having to ask. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that that is perhaps the most recent update that has happened in customer experience. And not only customer experience, because that goes into marketing research,
Everything.
that goes into data analytics. That's an entire universe inside of large organizations that is changing, and is changing a lot with AI. So the power that we have of understanding customers without having to ask them, without having to prompt them for responses, and how to use the data that we already have, either in our CRMs or our call logs or other forms of unstructured data, to be able to capture the voice of customer and then cross it with the other data points like transactional data inside of our systems, and come up with the very best decisions on how to provide a fantastic experience for customers.
Mm, yeah. I like, obviously, the personalization thing still's in my mind. I think that's super relevant, but I think sometimes this idea that data, if you've got it and you can use it, some of the examples you gave, it feels like people are screaming for it because it is creating a
Yep.
world which I think CX can be so much more powerful. I want to
Yeah.
flip gears just for a second, because you got the technology and you got the AI side of the house, and
Mhm.
I think you hit some of that, but you can't forget the people side of it. Obviously, in CX, there's customer
Mhm.
service agents, and there are people, and people always play a big role in this. How do you see that balance playing out? Talk to me about the people side, or how you've seen technology and people work together to drive kind of that CX amazingness.
I really do think that the technology piece is that it's a 10%. So
Interesting.
there's a rule, I don't know who came up with the rule, but it's the 70-20-10 rule. 70% of change has to do with structural change inside of an organization. It's processes, it's
Yeah.
systems, and all of those things. And then you've got the 20% that is the data, and getting the data right and being able to use the correct data to do the correct thing. So measuring data correctly. And then 10% of it is technology. So I would lump people into that 70%, which is the biggest effort that has to be done in order to generate change, right?
Yeah.
So people are everything, right? And
Yeah.
and and when we're implementing technology, we're not trying to get rid of people. We're not trying to exclude people from the equation. We're trying to empower them. We're trying to make their actions so much more impactful in a customer's life. We're starting to arm them with the information and the knowledge that they need in order to best provide for that customer at that moment. With so that's where the intelligence portion of the technology comes in. I mean,
Really comes into play. Yeah.
if you have customer support, or if you have call center agents, those guys are on the front line every single day, right? They're dealing with customers through ups and downs, normally getting people in a highly emotional state. It's perhaps one of the hardest jobs in the world. Why shouldn't we do everything in our power to
Yes.
make their lives easier? You know, a couple years ago, I was at ICMI and listening to people talk, and not only that, listening to managers, call center managers, talking about the struggles that they deal with, and just keeping their people with their head above water, keeping morale high, and just reminding them that the purpose of all of this, adding purpose and value to it. And I think that that's what we need to do as organizational leaders when we're bringing technology in. Let's try to remind our people of the purpose,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
technology is but a tool, and it's empowering you. There's an element of storytelling, Gabe, that I tell every single person I know because it's so important. When you're at a B2B SaaS organization, what you're selling is the tool. And who are you
Yeah.
selling that tool to? You're selling that tool to the protagonist of your story. So
Yeah.
every story has a protagonist, every story has a hero, and that
Yeah.
hero is the one who goes out to battle and makes things happen, right? So when you're providing a SaaS technology, what you're doing is you're essentially the intelligence think of a superhero movie, think of a superhero, think of any superhero, think of
Yeah. Yeah.
Batman. Batman has Albert, right? Who is constantly arming him with the information and the knowledge and the tools, and he's constantly in his ear telling him what needs to be done. Um, Another example that we used a
Everybody has
lot in
a
my
guide.
previous organization, everybody has a guide, right? Iron Man has Jarvis, and Jarvis is the intelligence that shows him what to do, provides him with the weaponry, et cetera, et cetera. That's what our job is. When we're
Yeah.
bringing technology into an organization, we're empowering them, we're arming them with what they need to succeed and be the hero of their story, right?
Yeah.
So
I love
when
it.
it's
I love
CX technology, we're arming those frontliners. We're making them more powerful. We're boosting the power that they already have, and we're making them stronger. So I think that company leaders also need to see technology in this way,
it.
not
Yeah.
as a way to eliminate people, but as a way to make people better and stronger and more efficient and more powerful at what they already do.
Yeah. I've always loved the Iron Man example, the Jarvis.
Mm.
That's a great one. And 17 2010, I noted that down. I'm gonna have to steal that from you. Um, I think that's a great balance, though. It is about empowering. It's not necessarily always about eliminating it. Sometimes
Mm-mm.
we get so far down this path, and it's like we're not even. It's like not even in any view at the moment. Like right now, we just like we need to enable. And the hardest job in the world is customer service. Let's just help them out, man. Let's just help
Right.
them out.
Yeah.
As we kind of wrap here, so many people are facing so many challenges. We hit a couple different topics, but what would be maybe that piece of advice you'd leave behind for customer service leader, customer experience leader, trying to navigate through these ever changing and rough waters? Any kind of last statement from you here?
Yeah, it would perhaps be a summary of everything that I said, right? It's also really easy to get caught up in the hype of technology, especially when that technology is being sold as the silver bullet, right? Either the silver bullet or the Terminator that's going to come and kill us all. There's no in between when people talk about AI. Um, but but I think that the important part is that if we understand that AI is simply a way to improve and scale and um, almost multiply
Yeah,
the efforts that we're creating as humans. So you can't think that by bringing AI in, you're going to fix all your problems if you don't do the homework
yeah,
and actually take the time to understand your customers, understand their pains, understand their needs, design a journey that's positive, eliminate friction and effort from the experience. this is data and intelligence that AI can provide you with, but you have to do the design, the
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding of the customer, and everything that comes in taking that data and turning it into a plan that works for people. That's still going to come from people. It's not coming from the machines, right? The machines are
Right.
simply providing you with the data that you need to make informed decisions,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
instead of seeing AI as something that's going to come in and solve everything, see it as something that can provide you with the information that you need to make the best possible decision for your customers.
Love it. It's all about enabling. It's not about eliminating. I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's so fun to catch up with you. Appreciate it. It's fun to kind of catch up and talk CX again. Best of luck in all your endeavors. So thank you for your time. And for the audience, have a fantastic day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.